Hello everyone, I am Is There No One Else? I wanted to bring another video for you today. One of my builds changed, so I wanted to provide a quick update for you guys. This is going to be an update to the Doctor of the Morgue Stam Dk Sword and Board and 2H build that I've posted in the past and gone over. That setup is still very good. I just found another 5-piece that I think is more viable for this patch and for the next patch. The reason I think it's more viable is last patch, gankers were able to hit a lot harder, and you could stack more damage into the CP tree. You could add a lot more physical or spell damage, and so it was just easier to hit harder last patch compared to this one. They nerfed the CP tree quite a bit, so people aren't hitting as hard that way. They nerfed sustain, so people had to build in more sustain, so they're not hitting as hard that way. They also nerfed the amount of damage that you do from stealth, which was actually quite a noticeable change, and a huge reason why I was able to finally make this switch from my setup. What else is I gonna say? So those changes are all they're all in effect now. Next patch, they're nerfing Red Mountain. They're nerfing Viper to not provide as much burst. They're also nerfing multiple other proc sets like Selene and Tremor Scale to where they're going to have like some sort of animation so you can kind of see when it's coming. So a lot of burst damage that is a problem now is going to be less of a problem potentially next patch, which basically my long story cut short is we don't need to run as much health as we did last patch as we do compared to now. So we can get by with a lot less health. So there were sets that a patch ago I wouldn't wear because I was, even in heavy armor, I was still getting 2-shot, that we can now wear. And so I wanted to stipulate that before we go into this. One of the guys on my YouTube channel brought up this set, and I honestly completely forgot about it because I needed a certain amount of health, and the buff that it gives wasn't useful considering that I would have had to stack so much into health in it anyways, and I would have had to take out of stamina, and it wouldn't have given me as much damage as I would have preferred. So I'm going to go through the sets really quick for you guys. For those of you that have not seen my previous build video, please go check it out. I'll provide a more detailed explanation in there. But we're running 5 Morag Tongue, we're running 3 Jewelry, 2 Sword and Board, 2 weapon damage enchants, 1 recovery enchant. You can run 3 weapon damage, you can run 2 recovery, doesn't matter a whole lot. We're running Morag Tongue on the front bar because we're going to try and stack as many poison abilities as possible with this setup. And Morag Tongue buffs that poison damage. And so as you see here, the 5-piece is very strong. Weapon damage, max stamina, weapon damage. That's one of the strongest 4 pieces for damage in the game for PvP because you can't crit shield, so having flat damage is a little bit more valuable in my opinion. And then the 5-piece is really strong for a Stamina DK since you have so many access to so many poison abilities. So we're running Morag Tongue on the front bar. We are running a Maelstrom's Axe on the back bar. If you run Vigor on your back bar, a sword would be better because that would increase your healing. But since we're running Vigor on our front bar, a Battle Axe is better in my opinion because it can proc a bleed. And you don't need a Maelstrom's Battle Axe. I think the Maelstrom's Battle Axe is the best because your crit rush also is a dot. So the damage over time effect of a potential axe bleed and this provides 2 dots. You could run a Maelstrom 2-handed axe and you'd be fine in this back bar. You'd miss out on the dot, but you really wouldn't miss out on much damage. It would be 124 versus 189. You're missing 65 damage. That's not a big deal at all. No poisons because we're trying to take advantage of the Merciless Charge enchant there. We're running 2 Tremor Scale. I totally understand this set is currently cheese. Totally is, but if you want to make the strongest setup possible, Tremor Scale is the strongest set for this build. If you don't want to run this because you don't like the burst that it provides, you think it's too much, that's fine. Run Blood Spawn, run Spawn of Mafala, run 1 Blood Spawn, 1 Kina. Like, you can run this set without Tremor Scale. Tremor Scale gives you a lot of burst, but you do not need Tremor Scale to kill people with this setup. Yeah, but we're going for the strongest setup, so we're running Tremor, and then our 5-piece that we switched to was 7th Legion. Now, 7th Legion is a great set. 2-piece weapon damage, 3-piece health recovery, which sucks, 4-piece 664 weapon crit, and then the 5-piece, when you take damage, you have a 10% chance to gain 483 weapon damage for 5 seconds and heal for 1344 health. The heal doesn't look that strong, but it really is when you're fighting. It's actually a very, very powerful heal. Hopefully I have some dubious on me. There we go. My food ran out. It's a very powerful 5-piece. So we are missing fully buffed up. If we look at our stats, we're sitting at, sorry about that, fully buffed up, we're sitting at 2600 weapon damage, 1485 stamina recovery, 36.5 stam, around 23,000 health in PvP. It's a lot lower than the previous set, but with the healing that the 5-piece provides and with the damage that the 5-piece provides, we get increased healing with increased damage, so our vigor heals are going to be a little bit stronger. And on top of that, we are getting a heal passively from 7th Legion while we take damage, so it helps make us more tanky. It really does make up for the fact that we're missing 6,000 less health. 2300 crit resist. Our physical and spell resistance is very good. We're in 5-piece heavy. We're running Dubious Camera and Throne. We're running the Serpent Mundus. Champion points. I'm going to quickly go through them for you guys that haven't seen this. It's the same as last time. 40 in a Warlord, 27 Tenacity, 56 in a Mooncapped, 3 in Arcanist, that doesn't matter. 66 in a Shadow Ward, 18 in Tumbling. We will be blocking a lot. We have no movement speed, we cannot get out. So our ability to survive is being able to block. So we want a lot of points in a Shadow Ward. 32 into Blessed, 31 into Master at Arms, 13 into Physical Weapon Expert. We are doing a lot of heavy attacks. That'll be part of our sustain. We do a lot of light attack weaving. That's also part of our sustain. It's also part of our damage. 56 into Mighty, 11 Piercing, 11 Precise Strikes, 56 into Thaumaturge. We really want to buff our Thaumaturge because we're running so many damage over time effects. 48 in Ironclad, 19 into Resistant, 49 Hardy, 49 Elemental Defender, 13 Thick-Skinned, and 32 into Quick Recovery. Now, the reason, as I said before, the reason I made the switch is because now we can get by with 22k health. I've been playing this off and on for the last week and a half or so, and it's very strong. When you 1vx, basically this proc of 7th Legion is up all the time, and you hit really hard, obviously, when that goes off. So I'm just going to stand here. I'm going to get beat on by these Drew. Fully buffed up, we sit at around 3,600 weapon damage, with counting the Wrath passive and counting the Wrath passive and counting 7th Legion, which is kind of ridiculous for a heavy armor set. So we're sitting around 3,600 weapon damage and 36.5 stamina. That is a really hard hitting heavy armor build. Yeah. So the reason this set up is so good. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to go through skills. So as far as skills in our back bar, we are running Take Flight. Our tooltip for Take Flight is 20k with this, fully buffed. Very bursty setup at heavy. Venomous Claw, Noxious Breath, Rally, Critical Rush, Reverse Slice. Our back bar is really our DPS bar. We're going to weave a lot of heavy attacks with dots. Our heavy attacks going to be part of our sustain. On top of that, heavy attacks, they do a decent amount of damage, but hold on. There you go. Your successfully charged heavy attacks increase the damage of your next attack by 10% for 7 seconds. There you go. So that's another reason we're doing it. Sustain, it also buffs our damage, so we'll do a heavy attack leap, so we'll get even more damage on our Take Flight. Rallies our buff, Critical Rush, this procs a dot, and then our Execute. So we will leap on people, and then we'll go straight to Reverse Slice, executing them. Our front bar, we're running Vigor, we're running Defensive Stance. This is one of the strongest skills in the game for Sword and Board class. Reflects projectiles, it stops a certain amount of incoming damage to you while you're blocking. 8%, very good. Reverberating Bash is our CC, it also gives Major Defile. Igneous Shield and Ransack. Ransack's our taunt, which will proc Tremor Scale. It's also our spammable DPS that's pretty cheap. And yeah. So, the reason this setup works very well, in my opinion, is because we're combining multiple damage over time effects with burst. So on our back bar, I'm just going to quick run through this. We have Venomous Claw, Noxious Breath. And with our critical rush, we have the merciless charge dot from the Maelstrom weapon. So on our back bar, we have 3 damage over time effects. With running the battle axe, we have 4 damage over time effects with the axe bleed. So just on our back bar, we have 4 damage over times. On our front bar, we have Major Defile, which is an effect. We also have Tremor Scale. And Tremor Scale is, it reduces the movement speed. So that is also a negative effect. So we're at 6 negative effects, and then we're also running double damage health poisons, which are also buffed by Borog Tongue. So when all these things fire, we have 7 negative effects on our character that we can provide to somebody. And so either we have damage over time effects, or we have negative effects, Major Defile, or movement speed hindering that are an issue for Templars. And so Templars have the biggest counter to damage dot builds in that they can purify 5. Well, we're running 7. And so when we have everything on a Templar, they have to purify twice to get all of their damage over time effects off us. And the problem with hitting purify twice against us is because we are a hard-hitting build, because we have 3,600 weapon damage fully buffed, and because we're running Tremor Scale, and because we have Dragon Leap, which its tooltip is at 20,000 for us, because we have all these things that provide burst, if they try and purify everything, they basically get stuck in a lose-lose situation. They can purify the dots and then deal with the burst damage that we have, or they spam Breath of Life to deal with our burst damage and then drain their magicka because they're also dealing with our damage over time effects. So I found this set up to be very, very strong against most builds. A good Kitey Stamina Nightblade is going to give this setup a little bit of issues in general, because they can, they're going to have more movement speed than you, and they can jump in, they can hit you hard, they can get out, and you have to play smart against Stamina Nightblade. That'll be the biggest counter. This setup does really well against Templars, it does really well against Sorks, it does really well against other DKs, etc. Yeah. So that's going to be the end of the video. If you have any questions or comments, please provide it in the section below. I'll do my best to answer it. Due to the changes this patch, you can basically run any other 5 piece besides Plague Doctor. You can run Black Rose if you want, you can run Hundings. I like 7th Legion more because we get so much burst, and we get healing on top of that with the 7th Legion proc, which is just really underrated in my opinion. That heal is really good. So yeah, if you have any questions, please comment. Thank you. Have a nice day.